Amelia Jennings, 24 years old, a psychology student, or at least, that's how she defines herself in the daylight. But tonight, in the solitude of her dimly lit room, she's not a student or a scholar. She's simply a person adrift, lost in the scrolling abyss of the internet. The clock ticks, the room stays still, and Amelia's eyes dance across threads that pull her in, yet keep her at arm's length from anything meaningful. A late-night ritual, one that fills the hours but not the soul. Just another night, just another distraction. Amelia's fingers pause over the screen. A thread catches her eye, the hollow game. The title alone sends a chill down her spine. She clicks. The posts are cryptic, laced with eerie warnings and whispers of an urban legend. They speak of a hidden challenge lurking in the dark web, an invitation-only game that some believe is tied to real-life disappearances. The stories feel like mere speculation, yet some users are certain, this game is real. And its victims? Countless. One name stands out, Natalie Owens. A girl who vanished without a trace 10 years ago. Amelia leans closer, scrolling. Some dismiss it as an internet hoax, a modern myth. But others insist, the game is watching. And once you see it, it sees you. Amelia skimmed through the thread, her face betraying nothing but indifference. A brief eye roll followed by a dismissive shake of her head. This was just more noise, she thought. Closing the tab with a quiet sigh, she leaned back in her chair, momentarily letting the weight of everything else push in. Finals were coming, and she had better things to focus on. Her eyes flicked to her study notes, the pressure of what was ahead sinking in as she prepared to dive back into the grind. As Amelia turns off the desk lamp, the room is bathed in the quiet glow of streetlights outside. The night feels still, yet a sense of unease lingers. She brushes her teeth, slips into her pajamas, and crawls under the covers, her body ready for rest. But her mind isn't as willing. The words hollow game drift in, echoing faintly in her thoughts, persistent and unsettling. She closes her eyes, hoping for sleep, but the whisper of those words won't fade. Amelia's mind races in the stillness of the night. She shifts, restless, as a single thought invades her calm, a name, a mystery, hollow game. It stirs something inside her, an unease she can't quite shake. She tries to push it away, to let sleep take over, but the words linger, like an echo in the silence, haunting her even as she drifts off. Amelia sits in the coffee shop, her eyes distracted by the glow of her phone, but the conversation at the nearby table pulls her in. "Did you hear about Claire Dunham?" one stranger says. Another responds, their voices low but clear. "Yeah, the hollow game, she got involved somehow. It's all tied together, you know." Amelia's grip tightens around her cup. Her stomach churns. She feels the weight of the words sink in. The air around her feels suddenly thicker, like something she can't quite escape. They continue talking, oblivious to her presence. And Amelia, caught in the midst of it all, can't shake the feeling that she's been drawn into something much bigger than she anticipated. Amelia's fingers hover above the keys, the weight of the moment pressing down on her. Her search for answers leads her deeper into a digital maze, each click pulling her further from the safe, familiar world she once knew. Among the sea of cryptic theories and unsettling whispers, one link stands out. The game has already begun. Her heart races, uncertainty gnawing at her, but her curiosity wins. With a single click, everything changes. Hours have passed, but Amelia can't tear herself away. The screen flickers in the dim light of her apartment, pulling her deeper into an encrypted abyss. Each video, each distorted image, each shadowed whisper drags her further into a web of secrets too dark to unravel. Faces twist unnaturally on the screen, cryptic symbols flashing too fast to understand, but the unease in her gut grows with every click. She's trapped now, in a world where curiosity and fear intertwine. Her fingers tremble as she scrolls, the ominous thread titled "The Hollow Game" calling to her. What's real? What's imagined? The line between them is beginning to blur, and she's too deep to stop. Amelia, drawn by a strange curiosity, sits alone in front of her computer. What starts as a simple search soon unravels into something much darker. The screen flickers with unsettling images, missing persons caught in their final moments. Grainy, distorted footage. Each video ends with a chilling question. Are you ready to play? Heart racing, she clicks again, unable to turn away from the mystery unfolding before her. She feels it then, a surge of paranoia. Her hands shake as she snaps the screen shut, leaning back, eyes blank, her mind a whirlwind. In the silence of the room, doubt creeps in, whispering questions. What is she doing? Just a student, not a detective. She should walk away, should cut ties with this madness. But, it's too late now. The mystery calls to her, deeper than before. And with that call, comes the slow, inevitable pull. An obsession begins to take root, one thought consuming another, until she can't escape it. The game is no longer just a game. Amelia sat alone in the quiet of her room, her laptop the only light in the darkness. Her inbox was filled with the usual messages, but one stood out. A new email from an unknown account, its subject line a string of random numbers and letters. Confusion flickered in her eyes as she stared at it. Should she open it? What if it was dangerous? She hesitated, but curiosity got the better of her. With a breath, she clicked. And with that simple action, a mysterious file appeared on the screen, its contents unknown. What had she just unlocked? The whispers, they grow louder now, though still distant, almost impossible to understand. But then, something unmistakable breaks through, her name. Amelia. She freezes, her heart racing. The whispers aren't just sounds, they're calling her. Amelia. A cold shiver creeps down her spine as she rewinds the video, desperate to uncover what's hidden within the shadows. Amelia opens the attachment, her heart racing. The screen flickers to life, grainy footage revealing a girl in a park, dark eyes, choppy hair. She's strikingly familiar, like a ghost from the past. The park is foreign, yet something about it stirs an uneasy recognition in Amelia's mind. The girl stands motionless, her figure blending with the shadows, the air thick with an ominous stillness. A faint whisper dances in the background, indistinct, yet haunting. Amelia's pulse quickens as she pauses the video, straining to catch the words. Amelia clicked on the next video, her fingers trembling slightly. It was a shaky, unsettling clip, showing a different angle of the same park. The dark-haired girl appeared once again, walking through the trees, unaware of the camera capturing her every move. But as the video went on, Amelia felt a chill creeping up her spine. The girl turned suddenly, her eyes briefly meeting the lens with a haunting intensity before she looked away. Then, a shadow moved, swift and elusive, slipping just out of sight at the edge of the screen. The feeling of something wrong grew stronger with each second. And then, the final video played. A shadowy figure stood behind a tree, barely perceptible, watching the girl. Its eyes were hidden in the darkness, but the presence was undeniable. It had always been there. Watching. Waiting. Amelia's breath hitches, her eyes locked on the screen. The weight of what she's seeing sinks in, her pulse racing as a cold chill settles over her. The room feels smaller, more claustrophobic. In a burst of panic, she slams the laptop shut, the screech of the chair on the floor echoing through the tense silence. Trembling, she steps back from the desk, her eyes darting around the room, expecting something to emerge from the shadows. Her heart pounds in her chest, and every sense screams that something isn't right. Her fingers press into her temples, but it's no use. The pressure, it's unbearable. The messages, once cryptic, once a dark enigma lurking in the shadows of the web, have evolved, transformed. They've infiltrated her life. They've found her. Brief pause, sound of an eerie whispering in the background. The laptop sits in front of her, silent, but its presence is suffocating. The screen is dark, empty, yet it holds a weight greater than any of the thoughts plaguing her mind. A quiet terror pulses in the air, thick and suffocating. She can feel it, just as she feels the cold sweat trickling down her neck. Sound of faint, unsettling hum from the laptop. The room, it feels as if it's closing in. The silence is deafening, stretching endlessly as her heartbeat quickens. The game, it hasn't just been a hidden threat anymore. No, it's come for her. And now, there's no turning back. Voice drops to a whisper. The game has found her, and it's only just begun. The apartment is bathed in a soft, dim light, the shadows creeping along the walls as Amelia moves restlessly. Her footsteps echo in the silence, each one heavier than the last. She can't shake the feeling of being watched. Her eyes dart to the window again, nervous, calculating, until, finally, she pulls the curtains aside, searching the dark street below. A flicker. A shadow. A moment of panic grips her chest. Her breath catches, and her heart beats louder, faster. The floorboards creak, echoing through the stillness, as if something, or someone, is waiting in the dark. Amelia's voice, whispered, with anxiety. Am I just imagining things? Or is someone really out there? For Sarah. Sarah's tone is warm but concerned, speaking with empathy. Amelia, you've been acting strange lately. Are you all right? For Mark. Mark's voice is calm, trying to be reassuring but with a hint of confusion. You keep jumping at shadows? It's not like you. For Amelia. Amelia's voice is anxious, barely above a whisper, filled with unease and dread. I can't shake this feeling. I know I'm being watched. Amelia sits alone in the quiet of her apartment, typing away, the only sound the steady click of the keys. Then, a flicker, something moves in the corner of her eye. She turns, heart hammering in her chest, but there's nothing. Her breath quickens. A whisper lingers, faint, almost inaudible. It's always there. Just out of sight. In the dim glow of her cubicle, Amelia's mind races faster than her hands can keep up. The walls around her are a maze of fragmented clues, a chaotic puzzle she can no longer untangle. Sleepless and obsessed, her thoughts loop relentlessly, trying to stitch together a pattern no one else sees. Amelia, muttering to herself, voice strained, these disappearances, they're connected. It's all part of the same thing. The sound of a frustrated sigh, the tension mounting in her voice. The room is dim, the light casting long, wavering shadows that seem to stretch further than they should. Amelia stands, eyes fixed on her own reflection, but something isn't right. Her face flickers, distorts, like a glitch in reality. A shiver runs through her, her fingers trembling as she reaches out, trying to make sense of what she's seeing. But the reflection stays the same, unmoving, unsettling. She whispers to herself, as if seeking reassurance, yet all she finds is doubt. Is it really me? Soft, shaky, with a growing sense of desperation and panic in her voice. It's happening. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. It's just. No, I'm not crazy. Her voice trembles as if she's trying to convince herself, barely above a whisper, filled with fear. For the background whispers, they should sound faint at first, eerie and unsettling, slowly increasing in intensity, mysterious, as though they're all around her. Amelia sits in the dimly lit room, bathed only by the soft glow of the screen in front of her. Her fingers hover over the keyboard, each click bringing her closer to something important. Her eyes dart from post to post, reading the breadcrumb-like messages, each one a clue. As she pieces them together, her brow furrows, and a quiet determination fills her gaze. She's close, closer than she's ever been. The hum of the computer and the tap of the keys are the only sounds in the room, but to Amelia, it's all she hears. Slight pause. The mystery is within reach. All she has to do is connect the final dots. The cold night air wraps around Amelia as she stands before the entrance of the old, crumbling building. Her phone's flashlight casts eerie shadows across the graffiti-streaked walls. The once proud structure, now abandoned and decayed, seems to watch her, its broken windows like empty eyes. With a shiver, she pushes open the door, the rusty hinges groaning in protest. Inside, a silence so deep it almost feels alive stretches out before her. As she steps into the darkness, the only sound is the distant rustle of the wind through the shattered panes. A sense of something waiting, something watching, fills the air, and Amelia can't help but press forward, driven by the need to uncover the secrets buried within this forgotten place. Sound of echoing footsteps. Amelia's shallow breath becomes audible. Amelia steps deeper into the silence of the forsaken building. Her every footstep reverberates against the walls, the only sound breaking the heavy stillness around her. The broken glass beneath her feet crunches with each cautious movement. She glances nervously, the shadows stretching long across the room, whispering of forgotten stories. The emptiness feels like a presence, pressing in, watching. Her breath grows shallow, each exhale a reflection of the isolation she feels in this abandoned place. The air is thick, and with every step, the unease grows. Amelia sat alone, hunched over her cluttered desk, her surroundings drowned in shadows. The glow of the laptop screen cast an unnatural light across her tired face as she typed furiously, her fingers moving like the hands of a clock counting down to something terrible. The silence of the night pressed in around her, suffocating, as she sifted through endless files, each one filled with the stories of people who had vanished without a trace. Missing. Gone. Her eyes never left the screen. Her mind raced. Focused. But then, the unease crept in. Her hand, shaking, paused over the mouse as she clicked on a photo. The face on the screen, familiar yet distant, stared back at her. Another photo, another missing person. Each one blending into the next, their faces twisted in sorrow, each more haunting than the last. At a sharp breath, the narrator's voice thickens with dread. And then, it happened. A sudden silence, the narrator speaks slowly, the tension mounting. Her breath caught in her throat. Her lips parted in shock. A realization. The faces, they weren't just faces anymore. They, morphed. Merged. Their eyes, cold, unblinking, stared back at her. All of them, one. And they were watching her, waiting, for something. Amelia knew, deep down, she was no longer looking at missing people. She was looking at something else, something that had been waiting for her. Amelia stands alone in her dimly lit office, her gaze fixed, hauntingly, on the map pinned to the wall. Red string, like veins of madness, connect scattered dots across the paper. Names, dates, circled in frantic chaos, as if something was trying to break through the fabric of her sanity. Her face turns ghostly pale, the blood draining from her cheeks as she realizes. Whispering with growing dread. It's not random. The voice quivers with the chilling realization, as if haunted by the truth. The hollow game, they're selecting. Pauses, the tension mounting, as she stands frozen, her breath shallow and uneven. The weight of the discovery crashes down on her like a crushing wave. Her pulse quickens, as she begins to understand, that the connections she's uncovered aren't just coincidences. They're part of something darker. Something monstrous. A faint, almost imperceptible sound of a door creaking in the background adds to the tension. The room was thick with the silence of the night, broken only by the soft tapping of keys. Amelia sat alone in her office, the dim light casting eerie shadows on the walls. Her fingers trembled, hovering over the keyboard, each press carrying a weight of dread as she tried to decrypt the video file. Then, with a sharp click, the screen flickered to life. At first, the image was a blur, distorted, as though the very essence of reality was trying to hide. Amelia leaned in, her breath shallow, her eyes narrowing, desperate for clarity. Slowly, the picture began to form, a family photo, innocent, familiar. But as her gaze sharpened, a chill ran through her. The room seemed colder now, suffocating even. Her hand tightened on her chest, her breath caught in her throat. There, just at the edge of the frame, a figure. A shadow. Almost imperceptible. But enough to make her heart race. It was too faint to identify, yet its presence, its intent, was undeniable. Amelia felt it, the thing lurking, watching. And as the camera zoomed in, that shadow seemed to grow darker, more sinister, creeping just beyond the reach of light. Soft, eerie music begins to play in the background, as the narrator's voice starts, tense and chilling. Amelia sits in her office, the dim, flickering light of the desk lamp casting long, trembling shadows across the room. Her mind spins, each thought fragmented, as unsettling images from her earlier hallucinations violently invade her consciousness. The figure, that figure, always lurking in the corner, blurred, distorted, now begins to come into focus. Her breath hitches, a cold shiver crawling up her spine. Her heart pounds in her chest as the truth, once ungraspable, suddenly sharpens in her mind. Her eyes widen in terror, the suffocating weight of realization settling in. With a shaky, almost inaudible whisper, she breathes out. No. It can't be. Her hands tremble violently as they grip the edge of the desk, her knuckles turning white, her entire body trembling with fear. It's as if the world itself is closing in on her. And then, like a flash, an image bursts into her mind, a shadowy figure, from a photo she'd once seen, his face now unmistakably clear. Someone she knows too well. The truth crashes into her like a violent wave, gut-wrenching. A scream is trapped in her chest, but she can barely breathe. Horror, raw and paralyzing, spreads across her face. My own family, involved from the start, she murmurs, the words trembling out, barely escaping her trembling lips as the room seems to close in around her. The music swells as the narrator's voice becomes a soft, ominous whisper. This is only the beginning. Amelia spins around, her heart pounding violently in her chest, as the weight of the nightmare surrounding her crushes down with full force. Her breath comes in frantic gasps, each one sharper than the last. She frantically scans the room, but nothing makes sense. Her mind races, her fear escalating, as if the very air itself is closing in on her. Then, in the reflection of the darkened window behind her, she sees it. A faint outline. A shadowy figure, watching her. Her blood runs cold. The door, oh God, the door creaks open, so slowly, as if savoring her terror. The chill that creeps in from the darkness sinks deep into her bones, sending an icy shiver down her spine. Time stops. Amelia freezes, her instincts screaming at her, she is not alone. The camera lingers on her wide, horrified eyes, filled with the haunting realization that someone is out there, and they're watching her. Waiting. Amelia sat at her desk, her eyes darting across a series of cryptic notes on her computer screen, the dim light above flickering, casting long, eerie shadows across the room. Anxiety gripped her chest as she tried to make sense of the unsettling information before her. The whispers, faint but constant, grew louder, creeping into the silence like a living thing, heightening the tension in the air. She leaned in closer, her face tight with confusion, fear, and disbelief, whispering to herself. What's happening? Is this real? The shadows around her seemed to twist, stretching unnaturally, inching closer with every passing second. Her fingers tightened around her phone, the device vibrating in her trembling hand, amplifying the growing sense of dread that clawed at her every thought. Soft, eerie background music fades in. Amelia's phone rings, the screen flashing an unknown caller. A distorted, unsettling sound echoes from the speaker, sending a chill down her spine. She hesitates, her expression filled with unease, before she answers, her voice trembling, barely above a whisper. Hello? The voice on the other end is cold, mechanical, unnatural, its tone sending a wave of dread through her. We've been watching you. We knew you'd find the truth. The game has already begun. The words hang in the air like a dark promise, the silence that follows punctuated only by a sharp, eerie click as the line cuts off. Amelia stands frozen, her eyes wide with fear and disbelief, still holding the phone, unable to tear her gaze away. Amelia lowers her phone, her heart pounding in her chest. The room feels unnervingly silent, the only sound the faint hum of the overhead light. In that stillness, her gaze shifts to the corner of the room, where a figure stands motionless in the shadows. Its eyes are dark and unblinking, locked onto her with an eerie, unwavering stare. Amelia's breath catches, a wave of cold fear seizing her. Her body goes rigid, but she can't tear her eyes away from the figure, even as every instinct screams for her to run. The door creaked open slowly, its sound echoing through the stillness of the room. Amelia's gaze shot to the door, her heart racing. In the corner, the figure remained eerily still, offering no movement or sign of life. Her phone buzzed, lighting up with a new message. The final player has arrived. Amelia stared at the screen, her mind racing, before her eyes snapped back to the unmoving figure in the corner. Her voice barely a whisper, she muttered, "No? It's meant for me." A chill swept through the room, and the door inched open further, the atmosphere thickening as the line between the game and reality began to blur. The world seemed to pause. Amelia sits on the couch in her dimly lit apartment, the silence of the space broken only by the low hum of the night. The room is cluttered, chaotic, a reflection of her mental state, with scattered papers, half-open notebooks, and her phone lying loosely in her hand. The air feels thick, suffocating, like she's trapped in a cage of her own thoughts. She stares at the phone screen, her eyes wide, glazed with exhaustion. Her face is tight, drawn, caught in something she can't escape. As her thumb trembles over the screen, strange messages flash before her, unknown numbers, unsettling symbols, cryptic threads that crawl through her mind. She scrolls desperately, each swipe heavier than the last, as if something dark is lurking just beyond her reach, something she can't yet understand but feels deep in her bones. In the dreamlike haze of Amelia's mind, fragmented images flicker and twist in and out of focus, her phone screen glitches, faces melt into nothingness, and disembodied hands stretch out as though trying to reach her. A chilling, distorted whisper creeps through the darkness, its words just beyond her grasp, distant and haunting. Paranoia claws at her thoughts, suffocating, as the oppressive presence seems to close in. In quick, jarring cuts, we see Amelia at a table, her eyes darting nervously, anxiety tightening around her chest. She glances toward the windows, her breath shallow, her hands shaking, hovering uneasily over the keyboard. The whisper grows louder, more insistent, as it echoes in her mind, Amelia, come closer. At 3 a.m., the harsh chime of the clock shatters the stillness of the night, waking Amelia from her restless sleep. Her heart races as she sits up in bed, drenched in sweat, her wide eyes filled with panic. The apartment is eerily silent, yet the air feels thick, heavy, suffocating, as if something unseen is lurking just beyond reach. The shadows around her seem to move, twisting and writhing in the darkness, making the walls feel like they're closing in on her. Trembling, she reaches for her phone, her hand shaking as she taps the screen, the soft glow of the display illuminating her face. Another unread message appears, and a wave of anxiety tightens in her chest. Her breath quickens, the weight of the moment pressing down on her as she scrolls through the message, her fear mounting with each passing second. Soft, tense tone, Amelia sits frozen on the couch in her apartment, the stillness of the late night enveloping her. The only light in the room is the faint glow from her phone screen, casting an eerie shadow across her face. The silence is broken only by a barely perceptible tapping sound, soft, rhythmic, almost as if someone, or something, is knocking at the door. Yet, Amelia doesn't move. Her eyes, wide with fear, are glued to the screen. With each passing moment, the sense of dread grows, unraveling another thread, pulling her deeper into whatever dark mystery has taken hold of her. In the early morning, as the first light of dawn begins to creep through the window, Amelia remains wide awake. Her tired eyes remain locked on the screen before her, her fingers flying across the keyboard in a desperate search for answers that seem to slip just out of reach. Suddenly, the stillness is broken by the sharp vibration of her phone on the desk. The screen flickers to life, revealing a new message. The words are cryptic, chilling, "You're closer than you think." Her breath catches in her throat, and her face drains of color. The weight of those words presses down on her, suffocating her. For a moment, she freezes, feeling as though the very walls of her room are closing in on her. Amelia sat at her desk, surrounded by an unsettling silence. The only light in the room came from the faint glow of her laptop screen, casting long shadows around her. The quiet was only interrupted by the soft hum of the electronics, a sound that seemed almost unnatural in its stillness. Amelia's gaze remained fixed on the screen, her mind racing. Suddenly, a cryptic message flashed across the display, "Stop looking." Her breath caught in her throat as she leaned in, brow furrowing in confusion, her pulse quickening. What did it mean? What was happening? Low, tense voice, with a slight whisper to build suspense. The screen on Amelia's laptop flickers briefly before an anonymous video begins to play. The image is blurry at first, but then, a figure begins to emerge, standing at the edge of the apartment complex. Amelia's heart skips a beat as she recognizes the angle of the video. It's the exact view from her bedroom window. A chill runs down her spine, and an unsettling wave of fear grips her as the hairs on the back of her neck rise. Something is wrong, horribly wrong. Amelia's eyes widen with shock and disbelief, her breath catching as her heart pounds violently in her chest. The stillness of the room only heightens the tension as she slowly turns her gaze toward the bedroom window. The silence is deafening. Her eyes scan the darkness outside, desperately searching for any sign of the mysterious figure that haunts her thoughts. Time seems to stretch as she peers into the void, but there's nothing. The night outside is calm, unremarkable, an ordinary, uneventful evening. Or so it seems. Amelia's phone buzzes suddenly on the desk, pulling her sharply from her thoughts. Her hands tremble as she quickly snatches it up, her heart pounding in her chest. The screen lights up with a chilling message. "You think you're the only one who can see it? Who's watching? There are more of us, more who know." Staring at the message, Amelia is paralyzed. A wave of confusion and terror floods over her as she struggles to make sense of what she's just read. Amelia watches in dread as the laptop screen flickers once more, her heart pounding in her chest. For a split second, it feels as though the entire room is shaking. Her eyes widen with terror as the figure from the video now appears to be much closer to the building, its presence unsettlingly near. It's staring right at her window. Frozen, she takes a step back, her breath shallow, panic surging through her veins. Just as she's about to react, the figure vanishes from the screen, leaving her breathless, shaken, and filled with an overwhelming sense of dread. Amelia stumbles backward, her heart racing in her chest as dread takes hold. She frantically retreats from the laptop, fear overwhelming her every thought. Her body trembles with anxiety as she backs into her bedroom, the walls closing in around her like a suffocating trap. Every sound, every tiny movement, becomes amplified, echoing through the room. Her senses are heightened, each breath more labored than the last, as terror tightens its grip on her mind and soul. Outside her bedroom door, the sound of footsteps echoes through the quiet. A low whisper filters in, sending a chill down Amelia's spine. "You're not the first. You're the last." Her body goes rigid, her heart pounding in her chest as she freezes in place. Her mind races, trying to unravel the meaning behind those cryptic words. Terror seizes her, her thoughts swirling in confusion. What do they mean? Who could be behind them? In the silence, fear grows, and the darkness outside her door seems to press in closer. Amelia sits alone at her desk, the dim light of the apartment casting long shadows as her gaze locks onto the laptop screen. Her mind drifts, confusion clouding her thoughts. The dark web images flash across the screen, distorted, flickering, each one melding into the next in an endless, chaotic loop. She rubs her temples, frustration building as she struggles to make sense of the madness before her. The reflection in the window beside her breaks into fragmented shards, mirroring the unraveling of her own grip on reality. Her eyes, wide with fear, stare at the screen, growing uncertain with every passing moment. Her trembling fingers betray her anxiety as she scrolls deeper into the abyss. Faces of friends and acquaintances twist, their identities vanishing into the digital void, leaving only confusion and doubt. Her mind races, her thoughts consumed by the question, are they watching me too? Was I ever really in control? The apartment is eerily still, a silence broken only by the faintest sound of evening shadows creeping across the walls. Suddenly, the phone rings, sharp and intrusive, pulling Amelia out of her thoughts. She freezes, staring at it for a long moment, a sense of unease creeping into her chest. With a reluctant breath, she answers. Amelia, a voice crackles on the other end, familiar but wrong. It's Jonah, but there's something chilling about his tone, something off. I heard about the game, he says, the words heavy, weighted with warning. It's dangerous. People like you, people who dig too deep, don't make it out. Why are you still looking? You don't understand what you're dealing with. Her hand shakes as she grips the phone, her heart pounding in her chest. A wave of anxiety floods her, draining the color from her face. She struggles to make sense of his words, her mind racing, confusion mingling with fear. Jonah, are you involved in this? What's going on? She stammers, her voice shaky, as the silence on the other end thickens. Time seems to stop. Then, Jonah speaks again, his voice colder, darker than before. You have no idea what you've gotten yourself into. I tried to stop you. But now it's too late. Amelia's heart skips a beat, her breath shallow and fast. She presses the phone closer to her ear, trying to hear more, but before she can react, the line goes dead, leaving her in stunned silence, frozen, unable to move or speak. In a tense, haunting tone. Amelia sits alone in her apartment, the silence pressing in around her like a heavy fog. She grips her phone tightly, her mind spiraling as Jonah's words echo relentlessly in her thoughts. Her breath comes in shallow gasps, sinking deeper into the chair, the weight of the phone call crushing her chest. Slowly, a zoom-in focuses on her face, disbelief written across it. Her eyes blink slowly, struggling to process the devastating news. The apartment hums softly, its presence suffocating as she reflects on the situation. In the eerie quiet, her thoughts spill out, almost to herself. It's too late. But, what if I can still figure it out? What if I can still stop this? The faint light from her computer screen casts an unsettling glow on her face, its cold light highlighting the tangled mess she's trapped in. With trembling fingers, she hesitates, then turns back to the screen, ready to take the next step, whatever it may be. Late at night, in the dimly lit room of Amelia, the only source of light flickers from her computer screen. She sits hunched over, her eyes bloodshot from hours of intense concentration, fingers moving frantically across the keyboard. The screen reveals a deep, hidden forum thread, nestled in the darkest corners of the web. Its cryptic words crawl across the screen, sending an icy shiver down her spine. The eerie text flickers again, warning her, the game does not end. It follows you. Amelia's face tenses, brows furrowed in confusion as she scans the jumbled letters, numbers, and symbols. Her focus tightens, and as she reaches the bottom of the post, the final message emerges, look to your own past. On a bright, sunny afternoon, the world seemed peaceful. Young Amelia, a lively 10-year-old, was outside, her joyful laughter ringing through the air as she played. Her mother, a stern but loving woman, sat on a porch swing, her expression serious as she spoke softly to her daughter. There's a man who's been watching us for years. You never talk to him. Understand, she warned, her voice laced with an unsettling tension. Amelia, wide-eyed and confused, nodded, thinking it was just another one of those strange adult stories. Yet, in the distance, near a dimly lit street lamp, a shadowy figure stood motionless, his gaze fixed intently on them. Unseen by Amelia, the figure's chilling presence hung in the air like a silent threat. Amelia sits frozen in front of her computer, her expression a mixture of shock and disbelief. Her eyes widen as a realization begins to form, slowly creeping into her mind, as though something is unfolding, something far more sinister than she ever imagined. As the fragmented memory of the old man begins to fade, she whispers softly to herself, the chilling question echoing in her mind, could he have been part of the game all along? Could he have been following her, watching her from the very beginning? A cold wave of dread washes over her, and her gaze is fixed, vacant, staring blankly at the screen. The room grows darker, the shadows stretching deeper, as the weight of this discovery presses down on her, suffocating, unrelenting. Amelia sits alone in her dimly lit room, surrounded by scattered papers and notes, the only light coming from the faint glow of her laptop screen. Her fingers nervously scroll through her research, each click of the mouse echoing in the silent room. Suddenly, a low, eerie whisper fills the air, sending a chill down her spine. Her eyes widen in disbelief as she stumbles upon a document detailing a string of unsolved disappearances, hauntingly cold and unresolved for 20 years. With trembling hands, she reads the chilling details, unable to look away. Instinctively, she types her father's name into the search bar, her pulse racing. The results crash into her like a shockwave. Her father's name is inexplicably tied to the disappearances. Her face pales, her breath hitches, and a cold shiver runs through her as the horrifying truth sinks in. Amelia stares at the screen, wide-eyed, struggling to comprehend the terrifying connection that now binds her family to these unspeakable events. Amelia sits in the dim light of the night, flipping through an old photo album, her fingers trembling with each turn of the page. The silence of the room feels heavy, oppressive. As she flips to a particular photograph, her hand stops, hovering above the page. Her face drains of color as she picks it up, and a chill runs down her spine. The picture shows her father standing beside a man she doesn't recognize, yet, there's something chillingly familiar about the man's face. It sends an unsettling shiver through her, as if she's seen him before in the shadows of her hallucinations. Her eyes widen in horror as the realization crashes over her. The truth, terrifying and undeniable, sinks in. In that instant, a flash of the figure she's seen outside her window overwhelms her senses. The shock is too much. Gasping, she drops the photograph, her heart racing, terror flooding her veins. Amelia's hand instinctively presses to her head, a desperate attempt to block the overwhelming realization taking root within her mind. The whispers grow louder, clawing at her thoughts, drowning her in their growing intensity. With trembling hands, she hurries to type on her computer, pulling up more and more documents. Her face, once full of determination, now drains of color as disbelief grips her. The pieces of her research, once scattered and inconclusive, are now falling into place, each one more disturbing than the last. Every unsettling encounter, every horrifying detail she's uncovered, all point toward the same chilling conclusion. Her fingers freeze over the keyboard as a particular, terrifying revelation appears before her eyes. With a shaky breath, her face turns even paler, and a cold shiver runs through her body, the weight of the terrible truth finally settling in. In the dimly lit living room, Amelia stands motionless by the window, her eyes locked on the pitch-black night, as though she's waiting for someone, to appear. The faint flicker of her desk lamp casts unsettling shadows across her face, intensifying the tension that grips the room. Her expression shifts, torn between the weight of realization and the creeping sensation of dread. Her breath hitches as, in a barely audible whisper, she murmurs, "The hollow game, it's a cycle." Suddenly, a rush of vivid flashbacks overwhelms her mind, flashes of her father's unsettling behavior, faint whispers that once seemed harmless, and the silhouette of an ominous figure always standing outside her window. These fragments, disjointed and eerie, now come together as pieces of a far darker puzzle. Her fingers clutch the edge of the window so tightly that her knuckles turn white with fear. And then, in a trembling voice, she repeats the words that have been haunting her all along. "It's been part of my life all along." The final step. Int. Dark room, night. The room is thick with tension. Amelia stands alone, her gaze locked onto her own reflection in the glass, studying herself as though seeing her true self for the first time. The weight of an unsettling realization crashes over her, she's trapped in this nightmare with no way out. Her breath becomes shallow, panic rising, as she grasps the terrifying truth that the last step of the game isn't survival, it's to pass it on. The park is shrouded in an eerie, dim light, the towering trees swaying gently in the wind, their branches casting long, distorted shadows across the ground. The usual hum of the city is nothing more than a faint murmur, almost drowned out in the suffocating silence of this isolated place. Amelia steps into the scene, walking down a familiar path, her footsteps sharp and unsettling on the gravel. Her gaze flickers nervously around the surroundings. Her expression is tense, her eyes scanning the darkness, determined yet anxious, as though preparing for something that watches from the shadows. Amelia paused, her face tight with concentration, narrowing her eyes as she stared into the shadows where she had glimpsed a figure moments before. But now, there was nothing, only the deep, consuming darkness. A shiver ran down her spine, yet she quickly exhaled, shaking off the unease that threatened to consume her. Steeling herself, She squared her shoulders, gathering her courage, and took a confident step forward, moving deeper into the heart of the park. In the center of the park, a strange and eerie structure comes into view, a circle of tall mirrors, their frames casting long shadows over the empty space. The mirrors reflect the vacant park, yet something is off. Amelia's reflection seems distorted, twisting unnaturally, her movements jerky and out of sync with her own actions. With cautious steps, Amelia edges closer, her breath shallow as she watches in disbelief, unable to control the eerie reflection that seems to move on its own. Amelia stands before the mirror, bathed in the soft, eerie glow of the light. She gazes into the reflection, her expression unreadable. But something is off, her reflection slowly curls into a subtle grin, though her own face remains emotionless. Fascinated and disturbed, she steps closer, her fingers reaching out toward the glass. As her hand touches the surface, the reflection mirrors her every move, but twisted. The movements become exaggerated, distorted, mocking her every gesture. A chilling silence hangs in the air as the dissonance between her frozen stillness and the reflection's mocking antics fills the room with an unnerving, sinister presence. Amelia's hand jerks back, her heart racing as her eyes go wide with sudden terror. Her breath catches, shallow and panicked, as she stares at the mirrors around her. Each one reflects a twisted, mocking version of herself, distorted, warped, and far from familiar. The air thickens with dread. Her body freezes, panic overtaking her as she stumbles back, every reflection closing in, mirroring her every move. The mirrors seem to mock her, amplifying her helplessness, making it feel like there's nowhere left to run. In this tense moment, the camera spins rapidly, capturing the warped and distorted reflections of Amelia in the mirrors. A chilling, omnipresent voice suddenly fills the space, its booming tone echoing from all directions. The voice delivers its message with an air of finality: "Welcome to the final round." Amelia stands frozen, her face drained of color as the world around her blurs and shifts. The mirrors distort her image once again, amplifying her inner turmoil and the overwhelming sense of dread that grips her. The door to Amelia Jennings' apartment creaks open, shattering the stillness of the night. Police officers step cautiously inside, their flashlights slicing through the thick darkness. The apartment is eerily silent, untouched, frozen in time since Amelia's mysterious disappearance. With each step, the officer's eyes scan the room, searching for any sign of life, any clue that could explain what happened. In the dim light, empty takeout boxes lay scattered across the table, and a half-drunk cup of coffee sits forgotten beside an open laptop. One officer approaches the desk, his flashlight beam falling on the screen, where the cursor blinks, paused on the last page of a browser, as if someone had just walked away. The soft click of a mouse echoes in the still room. The officer's screen flickers to life, revealing a forum page titled "Hollow Game." His eyes narrow as they fall on a familiar thread, the endless cycle. He begins to scroll through the posts, his expression changing from focused curiosity to something darker, something uneasy. The posts are recent, too recent. The latest one, posted only hours ago, catches his attention. It's from Amelia Jennings. Her name stands out, boldly displayed, with her avatar beside it. He reads her chilling message, and a cold shiver runs down his spine. It never ended. It's always watching. His breath catches in his throat, his gaze fixed on the screen. He can't look away. The sense of dread creeps in, and the room feels colder, heavier. Something's not right. In the dimly lit apartment, the officers exchange uneasy glances, the tension in the room growing palpable. One officer steps back, his face drained of color, while another turns toward the window, peering out into the quiet night, as though expecting something to stir in the shadows. A thick silence blankets the room, heavy with the realization that this is no ordinary case. The camera gradually zooms in on the laptop screen, where the chilling words remain on the page. It was always waiting, always watching. The city pulses with the energy of daily life, indifferent to the shadow of mystery that quietly lingers beneath its surface. Pedestrians move swiftly along the crowded sidewalks, and the traffic flows steadily, each person and vehicle a small part of the relentless rhythm of the urban sprawl. Amidst this normalcy, a faded missing persons poster tacked to a telephone pole catches the eye. The face of Amelia, once vibrant and smiling, now barely stands out among a sea of similar notices, its edges curled and worn by the passage of time. A wide shot of the cityscape captures the movement of life, yet an unsettling feeling hangs in the air, as though the city itself holds its breath, hiding secrets just out of sight. Jonah sits alone in his dimly lit apartment, hunched over a cluttered desk. The silence is thick, broken only by the sound of his shaky breath as his hands hover over a web of photographs, each one a face, lost and missing, including Amelia's. His fingers tremble as they trace cryptic notes pinned to the wall, each line a whisper of a mystery too dark to solve. With a swift motion, Jonah grabs his phone. It flickers to life, an unknown message appearing on the screen, a chilling command, ready to play. Confusion and fear twist across his face, his finger hesitating over the screen. His computer screen flashes next, revealing an empty IP address, a void that only deepens his growing terror. Hours pass, and Jonah paces in his living room, the dread clawing at his chest. His phone buzzes again, this time with a photo, his childhood dog and a haunting address from his past. A flash of memory grips him, a conversation with Amelia before she vanished, and the dread settles in like a shadow too close to escape. Jonah walks cautiously down a dark alley, his steps echoing in the eerie silence. The shadows stretch and loom, growing darker as he quickens his pace, panic creeping into his every movement. His eyes dart over his shoulder, searching for any sign of something, or someone, following. The wind howls, rattling a nearby trash can, sending a shiver down his spine. His breath catches in his throat. Inside his apartment, Jonah sits on the cold floor, his back against the wall, his phone clutched tightly in his trembling hands. Suddenly, the screen flickers to life, casting an unnatural glow in the room, revealing a chilling message: the game has begun. Jonah's eyes widen in shock, the weight of the message sinking deep into his gut. He jumps to his feet, his heart racing, his breath quick and shallow. The camera zooms in on a photo of Amelia pinned to the wall, and the relentless flood of messages continues to appear on his phone, each one more menacing than the last. The first rays of dawn break over the city, but an unsettling presence still hangs in the air, thick with dread. Jonah steps into the light, his face pale, his eyes hollow with fear, but also, something else. A quiet resolve. The game has found him again. The cycle is about to begin anew. The sound of paper rustling in the background. Jonah stands alone in his dimly lit living room, the only light coming from a desk lamp, its harsh glow casting long, looming shadows over scattered papers. The room feels suffocating, claustrophobic. At the center, an old study desk once belonging to his father, now worn and aged, holds an antique ledger. Jonah's fingers tremble slightly as they trace over the brittle, yellowed pages. His gaze freezes at a particular entry, his breath catching in his throat. There, on the page, a list of names, many crossed out in a jagged, careless manner, but one remains untouched. Amelia Jennings. Written in frantic, uneven handwriting. Beneath her name, the chilling words, the final player. Jonah's heart races as the room grows colder, the weight of the discovery settling into his bones, the air thick with an unnerving presence, as though the darkness itself is watching him. Amelia crouches behind a pile of rubble, her gaze sharp, unyielding, piercing the darkness ahead. The air is thick with tension. In the distance, shadowy figures move like phantoms, their faces hidden, their intentions unclear. One hands an envelope to another, a brief exchange that feels wrong. As the figures vanish into the night, Amelia's focus never wavers, her eyes flicking between them and the crumbling remnants of the building. Her every sense is alive, absorbing every detail. With a slow, deliberate motion, she reaches into her coat pocket and pulls out a small, well-worn notebook. The edges are frayed, the pages filled with a tangled web of names, dates, cryptic symbols. She flips through the pages until one entry catches her eye: Hollow Game. The name repeats itself, appearing in different contexts, like a whisper from the past. A shiver runs down her spine. This is more than a clue, it's a warning. Her lips press into a tight line. She knows the path ahead is dangerous. The truth is buried somewhere in this darkness, and she won't stop until it's uncovered. In a tense, slow-building tone, Jonah paces frantically around his living room, the ledger still open on the desk in front of him. His eyes dart across the pages, wild with confusion, as he mutters to himself, desperate, trying to piece together the fragments of a troubling revelation. Then, suddenly, a flash of realization strikes him. His body goes still. His eyes lock onto the ledger with growing horror as the weight of the truth crashes down on him. His stomach churns, dread sinking deep into his bones. With a voice barely more than a whisper, he mutters. Amelia, she knew. She was part of this all along. Overcome by the magnitude of this revelation, Jonah collapses into the chair, his hands gripping his hair in distress. The room around him grows colder, quieter. The silence is suffocating, as if the walls themselves are closing in on him, amplifying the eerie stillness that now dominates the space. Tone, low, tense, and ominous. Jonah walked alone down the desolate alley, his breath quick and shallow, the silence of the city hanging in the air like a held breath. The dark streets seemed to pulse with an eerie stillness as he approached a weathered brick wall. The faint graffiti scrawled across it read "Hollow Game," the letters warped and unsettling. Jonah's fingers brushed over the words, the cold stone biting into his skin. A sense of dread washed over him. There was something much darker behind those letters, a sinister truth he hadn't yet understood. In a flash, a memory surged. He saw a shadowy figure in a suit, offering Amelia a card with the same inscription, "Hollow Game." She accepted it without hesitation, unknowingly sealing her fate. Jonah's expression darkened, realization crashing over him. The game wasn't just some trap, it was a ritual, one that had claimed Amelia and was now closing in on him. His gaze lifted to the night sky, his resolve solidifying. He was determined to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. Jonah sits on the edge of his bed, the dim light casting long, unsettling shadows in the cramped space of his apartment. His gaze is locked on the open ledger before him, fingers hovering just above the final entry, Amelia's name, scrawled in ink. The words reverberate in his mind, the final player. With a soft, ominous thud, he closes the ledger, and the weight of its truth crashes down on him like a suffocating blanket. His pulse quickens, dread creeping into his chest. He realizes, with chilling clarity, that he's been pulled into something far beyond his control. What once felt like a myth, a whispered tale, is now his grim reality. In a voice barely above a whisper, he mutters to himself, "I'm next." The chill in the room deepens as he stares into the ever-encroaching darkness, unsure of what lies ahead, but certain that there's no turning back. In the dead of night, a chilling forest clearing lies under the cold, unforgiving glow of the moon. Jonah stands alone at its center, his every nerve on edge, feeling the weight of unseen eyes watching him with an intensity that freezes his very soul. The wind howls through the trees, but the air is eerily still, as if nature itself has held its breath. The atmosphere is thick with an unsettling tension, as though the very earth knows that something darker has begun. The ritual has begun. Dark, tense, and ominous tone. Jonah stands alone on a desolate street at the city's edge, the crumbling ruins of buildings looming around him. His gaze is fixed on the darkening sky, a sense of dread hanging in the air. The weight of his decision crushes him, his fists clenching tightly as his breath comes in steady, yet ragged gasps. With each step, his boots echo, shattering the eerie silence that grips the empty street. He pulls out his phone, the screen flickering with cryptic messages, puzzles, codes, and haunting clues left behind by Amelia. Each one heightens the uncertainty in his chest, a growing sense of purpose mingled with fear. What has he uncovered? And what is yet to come? Jonah arrives at a decaying building on the outskirts, its crumbling structure and shattered windows a grim testament to years of neglect. Ivy snakes its way up the sides, adding to the sense of abandonment. The air is thick with the musty scent of mold, heavy and oppressive. Hesitant, he steps forward, pushing the door open with a low, eerie groan. Inside, darkness engulfs the space, suffocating the room with a sense of foreboding. Dust particles float lazily in the stale air, and broken fragments of old furniture lie scattered, left to rot in silence. As Jonah ventures deeper, a faint, unsettling hum breaks the stillness, and the floorboards groan beneath his every step, as though something is watching, waiting. Jonah's gaze swept across the room, his eyes locking onto a cracked mirror that stood alone in the center. Surrounded by the decaying remnants of the forsaken building, it seemed to pulse with an eerie presence. The mirror's surface, tarnished and warped, reflected the faintest light in a way that sent a chill crawling up his spine. Every step Jonah took toward it was slow and deliberate, his hand trembling ever so slightly as it reached for the cold, jagged glass. In the fourth scene, Jonah stands before a mirror, the quiet stillness of the moment shattered by an eerie flicker. His reflection begins to warp, twisting unnaturally, leaving him confused and unsettled. The calm resolve he once held fades into a growing uncertainty. Then, in a horrifying turn, his reflection shifts, and behind him, the figure of Amelia materializes. Her eyes, wide with fear and regret, lock onto him, and her lips barely move as she whispers, a distorted, faint voice echoing in his mind with a chilling message, "It's your turn now." Jonah stands frozen, his heart hammering in his chest as a cold wave of dread sweeps over him. His eyes widen in disbelief, unable to tear away from Amelia's figure as it begins to fade into the reflection, slowly dissolving into the mirror itself. Panic claws at his mind, his thoughts a frantic blur, as he spins around, desperate to make sense of the surreal nightmare unfolding before him. But the air around him feels thick, suffocating, pressing down on him with an unnatural weight. The whispers, once faint, now surge in volume, swirling around him in an eerie, mocking chorus. Shadows in the corners of the room shift, stretching and contorting unnaturally, moving toward him like dark, twisting tendrils. Gasping for air, Jonah stumbles back, his feet slamming into the cold surface of the mirror as is pulled deeper into the suffocating chaos. In the dim light, the mirror flickers once more, casting an eerie glow. Jonah's reflection appears, his face pale, his eyes wide with fear, his body trembling. But this time, something is terribly wrong. A chilling, unnatural smile slowly spreads across his reflection's face, not his own. It's twisted, dark, and full of malice. Jonah's breath catches in his throat, terror gripping his chest as he stares in absolute horror. The smile, it belongs to something far more sinister. The reflection's eyes gleam with a cold, calculating malice, and Jonah freezes, paralyzed by the realization. The game has taken hold of him, and it's more terrifying than he ever imagined. Whispered tone, eerie and suspenseful, late at night, at the police station, a cluttered desk bears the weight of countless missing persons reports, each case growing colder with time, including Jonah's. An officer sifts through Jonah's file, his fingers lingering on the page detailing the chilling disappearance. The camera shifts to a desolate alleyway, where a lone figure's footsteps break the haunting silence, echoing against the walls. On the cold concrete, Jonah's phone lies discarded, its flickering screen revealing a sinister last message. Game over? Not yet. Back at the station, the officer's eyes narrow as he scrolls through cryptic messages from Jonah's phone, each one more puzzling than the last. His breath catches as he clicks on the most recent, game over? Not yet. Meanwhile, in another corner of the station, a detective frantically types, pulling up an anonymous post from the Hollow Game forum. The message flashes across the screen, a chilling taunt, who's next? In the dead of night, an empty street stretches beneath the flickering light of a solitary street lamp, casting an eerie glow across the deserted sidewalk. The camera slowly pulls back, revealing the desolate emptiness where Amelia once stood, her presence now nothing more than a memory. A faded missing poster clings to a telephone pole, its edges curling in the chilling wind. Inside a dark room, the only light comes from the cold glow of a computer screen, illuminating an anonymous face as the cursor hovers above an empty text box on the Hollow Game forum. With a click, the chilling message appears, who's next? The screen fades to black as the words echo in the silence. Outside, a young person walks through an abandoned park, unaware of the eyes that follow from the shadows. Their phone buzzes in their pocket, but they don't respond. The camera lingers on the glowing screen, now showing a notification from the forum. Back at the police station, the detective stares at his screen, disbelief washing over him as the haunting words flash, the game isn't over. It's just begun. His tired eyes reflect the horror of what's to come.